up, and welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonia Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, everybody? How is your day?
How was your week?
How is your life?
Going. And today, make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com. Share it with the people that you know. When you guys go there, you guys can see all of our social media there. You guys can follow us there. You can watch the podcast there. You can listen to it there. You can see how you can support the show if you click on the support the show link, and we'll tell you more about that later. How you can support us on Amazon and by going to Trust Inc. for your notary services and that sort of thing. But yeah, we'll tell you about that later on in the show.
You're going to like this. Because I just had a thought.
So we're already going off the rails.
Tomorrow is Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. To me. Yay.
Like, are you telling me Happy Father's Day?
And to all the fathers out there listening. Yeah, it is Father's Day.
It is. So when you were a little boy, did you ever think that you were going to be a daddy? Like, was that something that you
I don't think I ever thought about that.
Really?
Yeah. I can't think of myself thinking about having kids as a little kid. I mean, I guess I would think about having a family.
Well,
you know, like I wanted it. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I saw myself with a family. Yeah.
You never thought about, like, you don't remember if you were like, oh, I want to have 2 kids or I want 1 kid, or that maybe was never a thought process?
Maybe it was like those fucking lonely times. I mean, when you're playing with your friends, you're playing with your friends. But when you're freaking sitting there by yourself watching TV, you're like, I wish I sure had some other people around here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So being a dad, would you have it any other way? No.
Because, and that, like I've mentioned, like that's when I was a little kid, that's what I always wanted. And now.
You always wanted a family.
I always wanted a family. Yeah. And now, I mean, you know, it's awesome. Like right now the kids are all, they're gone. Like Joey's visiting his friend. They went camping.
Yes.
And then Audrey's getting ready to go to a softball camp in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So she's visiting her friends and doing some stuff right now. But, no, like, you know me, and those of you that listen to the show, you know, what I love doing more than anything is just hanging out with the family, you know, and being with the kids, being with you.
You're a great daddy.
Thanks,
you
babe.
know, ever since, I mean, what I remember a lot is when the kids were babies, when they were infants, newborn, I mean, even all the way up till now, what you love to do, absolutely love to do, is cuddle with them, to sleep with them on your chest. I have tons of pictures of you
just fall asleep.
falling asleep with the kids. And even now, just cuddling up with them and being by them. And you're a very affectionate dad. And I am so grateful for that. I felt at the beginning when the kids were little, I felt that you were more affectionate with them than I was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt that. And I felt that that's why I say God knew exactly what he was doing when he put us together, because I feel that you helped me become that nurturing mom.
Really?
Yeah.
Thanks, babe.
You know, and so, no, you're a great daddy. You know, happy Daddy's Day.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to everybody. Thank you, babe.
And Joey's so cute. Before he left camping, he's like, wait. I'm like, Father's Day is this Sunday. And he's like, oh, I can't miss that. Yeah. And I'm like, and you could tell like he was very concerned. And I'm like, you're going to be back on Father's Day. He's like, oh, good. And I'm like, you know, you're going to be gone 4 days, right? And he's like, ooh, that's a long time to be without you guys.
Yeah. And we knew like when he was leaving, we're like, man, that is a long time. We're going to miss him when he's gone.
Yeah. And we were talking about, you know, Adriana, she's going to be 13 in July. And she was always a daddy's girl, like just daddy, right? And once she started to go through the
puberty,
puberty,
preteens,
she started to pull back a little bit. And these days I have noticed that little girl who was always wanting to be around you is now coming back Do you
Yeah.
feel that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it on here that like that was like probably the hardest time in our relationship with Audrey and I.
Oh, okay.
Right. Because, yeah, like you said, she was my little girl and there was never anything weird, you know, like it was
Right.
just like I could just hug her up and squeeze her as tight as I wanted to. And she loved it, you know. But then at a certain point, you know, like you said, their bodies are changing, their brains are changing, the way they're feeling is changing. And then it was like the hugs with the elbows in.
Right. And
You
how
know?
did that, through that time, how did that make you feel? Like how were you confused? What was going on within during that time when your little girl, your little girl who always loved you, who always wanted to be around you, who would jump on you?
Yeah. It was different at different times because sometimes it's just heartbreaking, you know, like you just get sad, and sometimes you get resentful. Sometimes you get frustrated, or I would get frustrated, and that was the worst, like just feeling resentment towards her for not wanting to hug me or whatever. But it didn't really.
It was
I don't
hard to
think it happened.
understand, though,
Yeah,
right?
it was.
It was hard to understand because seriously, it seemed, because I'm here as a mother and I am witnessing all of this, and I didn't understand it. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't understand it because my dad wasn't around during that age for me to remember going through that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if all little girls go through that. I don't know if
think-
it was just her and, you know, some of the things that happened to her to get her that way, but it's something that she had to work through, and it's something that you had to work through. And
Yeah.
and this is where communication comes into place on all angles from our daughter to you and I being able to talk through it, talk about it. Because there was a point, I remember talking to you about this, because I noticed that when you were starting to feel resentful, like you were starting to take it personal.
Yeah.
And I remember one time you telling me that you're not trying, like you're done. Like you were just so fed up, didn't understand. And then that's when you and I started looking for answers, because there's only a certain amount of time until you start to question, like,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's when you and I, we started
Yeah,
reading that book, Untangled.
It didn't last very long, but yeah, and that's when we started looking up the answers and just finding out like what's happening with them, and just kind of empathizing and understanding what's happening in their head and in their body, and just kind of letting them do their thing and reassuring them.
And so you see her coming back around.
Yeah. Yeah, like now it's not even that, but I was telling you that little by little it went from like just the regular hugs, like nothing, and then the hugs with the elbows in, and then now she's getting, but also she's completely changed since this whole thing started too. Like her body has changed. Like she went from a little girl, now she's big, you know, in the last year.
Like big, what he means is developed.
She's almost
like
your size.
She's my
She's almost
height,
your
but
size.
she's also, you know, curvy. I mean, she takes after
she's
her
not
mommy.
as thick as her mom, but anyway. But what I'm saying is, like, but now she'll come around. She starts like trying to hit me and stuff, you know.
Yeah, she tries to wrestle.
And I'm
with
like,
you.
okay, cool. And I'll start like, wrestling with her a little bit. But I've also noticed that, like, she'll say something like, I love you, or like she came around and she hugged me or something. And I just kind of noticed that she was trying.
Yes.
You know? And man, when there was one time, it was like right down here, like right out of the shot of the camera, and right by our front door. And I don't know what was going on. I might have been setting up for a podcast or doing something. And just like right there, she just came up to me and gave me a hug and said she loved me. Just like it had been, I was just like, oh shit. You know, like I love you too. You know?
Yeah. So I guess if you are a father and you're going through something like this where your little girl is pulling away, just know that if you're patient and if you're, mindful
Yeah.
of the situation. And I think it's too just understanding what they're going through, not just physically, but mentally, and really diving into it and understanding it, then you'll become more accepting, I guess.
Yeah. And I think also remembering we're the adult, this is what we're supposed to do as the parent, is like try to figure this thing out. So when they're pushing us away, like we did, we started looking up the reasons why and trying to understand why it was happening,
Right.
and that makes it so much easier to deal with.
And I think as a mother, if when you're witnessing this, it can also be confusing because you see it.
Yeah.
And I could feel how you were feeling,
Yeah.
right? Like I noticed that, and I would talk to Audrey about it, and she felt bad. Like she felt bad for how she was feeling, and she was also confused and questioning what's wrong with her. Like she would question, like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. I'm just feeling this way. And instead of telling her, like making her feel bad, she was already feeling a bit of shame for feeling that towards you and not understanding why she was feeling this way. But it's just letting her know, it's okay. Like giving her, I don't know the word, but just letting her know, hey, it's okay.
Her.
Yeah, it's okay. That you're feeling this way. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of things going on right now. But she did feel bad because she recognized that you were also seeing the difference in her.
And I think one thing, well, you've always kind of helped me through those moments, like you've always went and talked to her and like try to see what's going on. Like if there's an issue with, and we've done it for each other, like if you have an argument with her, like sometimes I'll go after her and I'm like, hey, mom, this and that, or, hey, when you did this, mom, and well, we back each other up and we try to like smooth things over with the kids too, and you've done that a lot during those moments.
And what helped us in these situations, because trust me, we're going to go through many, many more. She's only 13. And it's so important for husband and wife to be on the same page and looking out for not just each other, but the kids as well. Like really being aware of what's happening and having that open communication. So our last episode, we gave you guys 5 steps on how to communicate. And that it's not just those 5 steps don't just work for husband and wife, but also for the entire family, like teaching your kids how to communicate, how to express themselves. With Adriana, we just had this conversation. We took her out since Joey's gone. We took her out for breakfast and we, took her out shopping. But during that conversation, when we were all sitting down, I was talking to her and I told her that I noticed at times that she has challenges when it comes to expressing how she feels when she's upset or angry, and that's something that I'm working on it, but I still have difficulties expressing how I'm feeling. And I told her what has helped me is to really dig deep and think about what I'm feeling first before I speak. Like, why am I feeling hurt? And just connecting with her emotions and then maybe describing what she's feeling. Like what you said made me feel this way because of, kind of, right? Yeah. But it's important to know how to communicate when you're going through these challenges as a family, so that your voice can be heard and the other person can understand what you're saying, right? Because when we were having a disagreement with her earlier, you were like, well, she's acting rude. Like the way she's acting is making me think that she's doing something she's not supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But I knew at that time it wasn't that. It was just she didn't know how to express why she was getting upset.
One thing that kind of made me think that maybe that's what was going on, that she just wasn't expressing herself the right way, is she just kept repeating the same thing over and over again.
Right.
She kept, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was just the same thing. It was the same thing.
Right.
The same thing. And I'm like, yeah, but and it was just the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, well, when you really think about it, it's like, well, she's just repeating it because
she doesn't
she's
know
frustrated.
how.
She doesn't know what else to say right now.
And think about that. As adults, we do that a lot.
Yeah.
Right? When we're pissed off, it's like a lot of us that don't know how to communicate, that's how we communicate.
Yeah.
Right? Just leave me alone. Leave me alone. Go do your thing. Just leave me alone. Because you don't know how to express what it is that you're upset about. But either way, during that, time when you and Adriana were going through that, through the communication, we were able to come to an agreement of how to handle the situation after, doing some research and listening to some books and all that good stuff. And now, your guys' relationship, I can see it coming back around, and I see her going up to you and giving you hugs. And it's not that she's trying. That's what I was going to tell you. That there, it's not her putting effort. That is coming from within. It's just, you're getting your little girl back again, right? It's just, it's in a different manner. Like she's giving you hugs and stuff like that. But she also likes to wrestle and likes to come in.
That's when the hooks come in. And the body shots.
Right.
But one thing that I was going to say earlier, when we were talking about how you would kind of smooth things over, after that period, once we started looking things up and I started noticing that her body is changing, her brain is changing. That's why these things are happening. Once you start understanding the reason for things, then I went and talked to her about it, so that she didn't feel bad, so that I letting her know that I understand why she feels weird,
Yes.
and that it's not like I'm not taking it personal.
And that's so good.
And I'm like, look, I love you no matter what, and I understand that right now maybe hugs they might feel weird, or that you don't always, want me to put my arm around you or whatever.
Right.
It doesn't matter. But whenever you want a hug or you want me to put my arm around you or whatever, or if I try and you don't want to, it's okay if you move my hand. I'll move away. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But if you want to hug me, I'm always here.
It's so when you, while we're having this conversation, it's so not complicated, but just learning how to communicate the right way. It's almost like a freaking art or another language,
Right.
because not only are you learning how to communicate better with your wife, now you have this little girl, your daughter now, who you also have to learn. It's like a different language, how to communicate with her so that she can understand. And with our kids, what I'm noticing is they find us listening to marriage podcasts. They find us listening to audio books on how to become better parents. Like they're witnessing us continuing to look for answers.
Yeah, and conspiracy theories.
And that and that has to get them, I mean, especially when they get older, when they start to think about it. As adults, when we start to think back about our childhood and things that were poured into us or things that have happened, like our kids are going to have these memories of, hey, do you remember, mom and dad listening to those audio books on, how to parent a preteen or how to to become better parents or how to become better work on their marriage. Like they're gonna remember.
That's gonna be a thing that that's gonna be a thing that they remember.
Like our parents were always looking for answers on how to get better, how to get ahead in finances, and how.
What is that for? Do you have something like that for your mom?
I think with my mom, it was always like her selling shit, like trying to get ahead, right?
I can say that about my dad too.
Avon, she was selling these little knickknack things. Selling shit. She was always selling shit. You know, she was trying to do something different. She was always trying. Shit, I don't know, but I don't know the reasons for her selling Avon. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming it was to make more money. Hustle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But too, that I don't remember her ever talking to me about it, like why she's doing those things.
Yeah.
I just remember her making me go put little Avon, you know, the bags with the samples with the books on doors, which was embarrassing for me because I didn't understand.
Yeah, you didn't know what you were doing.
Saying? She was like, "Hey, baby, I'll give you a cut if you."
I'll give you a cut.
I'll give you a taste. I mean, because that's what we do with our kids, right?
Yeah.
So she took it one step, and we're taking it like multiple steps. Like, you know, I have Adriana doing invoices. Like, that's what it is. It's like you don't think that your kids are watching, but they're watching. But if you don't explain why you're doing things, a lot of times it takes them to get to our age to think back and connect the dots on their own. When our kids, they're like, mom and dad are always listening to something. They're always looking up something. They're always trying to figure out a way. And then we go back and we teach them. It's not even them asking us questions. It's us teaching them.
Yeah.
What to do.
And also there's times when we're learning certain things. I mean, it's now we're kind of talking about business stuff or whatever, but like there's times that we'll explain to them like what we're doing or why we're doing certain things or what we're looking into. We're looking into this because of this, you know, and they're like, oh, okay. Like we're sharing some of the business stuff with them.
Right.
You know? But that's a crazy thought. Like when you look back at your parents, like what do you think? And you said, we were always like listening to something. We're probably always working on something.
Right.
We're always working on something's going on.
Right.
You know, I was thinking for my dad, it would probably be hustling. Like he was always trying to sell something too.
Yeah.
It was hustling, traveling, and sleeping. Those are the three. You know?
Yeah. I don't remember much. Like, well, I remember like with, you know, my dad, I'm like trying to think, you know, back, but I was only with my dad, I think, until I was like 8.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, the memories that I have, it's just, he always worked like manual work, like construction, just hard work.
Hard labor.
Yeah. You know, but yeah. So, but I think with you just, you know, seeing the type of dad that you are, you know, with the kids, like I did good.
Thanks, babe. Yes, you did good. Oh man,
you're a great daddy.
Thanks, babe.
You're a good daddy.
But what I was gonna say, we were talking about like the affection earlier, right? What do you like? You were saying that I give the kids a lot of affection, and we give the kids a lot of affection. What do you remember growing up? Did you get a lot of affection?
Not the way we are. I mean, we are an affectionate family.
Yeah.
We're always hugging. I mean, just today, did you see Audrey and I? And that's the norm. We lock, like when we hold hands, we're holding hands. Like
I need to get back to that. I don't think they do that with me anymore. They're like Joey still.
Joey does, right?
Joey still. Audrey doesn't do it.
Yeah, but that's us. If you even in the car when it's just her and I, we're holding hands.
Yeah.
And when we're walking, we're holding hands, and not, you know, the way the normal You
guys got your fingers interlocked. Yeah.
Yep. And that's just us. Like we're a very affectionate family. And I'm wondering like and I think the bond, and I always knew this and I always felt bad as a woman. I mean, reading Audrey's journal, I was an affectionate mom, but I think you were more so than I. Now, I am all up on my kids. Like I am very, like Joey being away. It was not hard for me to let him go, but I was like, do I want to let him, it's just being away and
for that long.
Yeah. And just hoping, like he's going to be okay. And just
I don't worry about that.
You know, and with Adriana leaving to New York, it's like,
I think that's a different
it's just, there's just a lot. But when they were younger, I was like, okay, yeah, go.
Yeah.
Fine. You're fine. You're good. Yep. Go.
Have fun.
Yeah. Never had any kind of negative thought or losing them or something happening. Never. But now it's something that lingers.
Yeah.
Like is within, like, I feel so like attached to them. More so now that they're older. And that's weird because I always knew that. Like you were very attached to them when they were babies and I was attached to them, but not as attached as you were, right? That's weird to say. Yeah. But now it's like more so.
Yeah.
Like I have that fear of losing them.
Yeah, I know. You've been talking about that lately,
yeah,
especially with Audrey going to New York now.
Yeah.
You've been talking about that.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I remember, well,
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, about if you were,
I just
you were
don't
affectionate
remember.
growing up, or not if you were
know.
affectionate, but if there was.
I don't think we were as affectionate. Maybe that's why I'm so affectionate now because I didn't get that. I don't remember us being a very affectionate family. I don't think we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we were.
So when I was a kid, I remember my dad, like with my dad on my dad's side of the family, like, my mom's side, and they're affectionate.
Yes.
Like everybody's hugs and kisses and, you'll be walking by and you get a hug or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome. We love it. But with my dad's side of the family, we were affectionate too. Like even with my dad, I even to this day, like give him a kiss on the cheek and a hug, but it was kind of like, when you show up, when you say hi or, hey, I'm leaving.
Oh, gotcha.
See you later. Give a kiss and a hug. I'm out of here. But it was just like when you show up and when you leave and then, but it wasn't like we were going to be hugging or anything after that, which is also, like I've told you before, as far as like telling the kids that we love them, we do that all the time.
Right.
Right. That just comes out like random throughout the day or when they're leaving or when they're going to bed and we're tucking them in or whatever.
But it's not just those times, though. We'll be in the car driving.
Yeah.
And I'll be
no,
like,
that's what
hey,
I'm saying.
Adriana,
It'll be random.
I love you.
It'll be random sometimes.
Yes.
That I don't remember much as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when you were leaving sometimes. But even like with my dad, like I would tell you when we would talk on the phone, it was like, all right, talk to you next time or talk to you later. Until little by like I started noticing it and then I would try to say it.
Right.
And then it was a little weird and it's like, okay, I love you too, bye. Click.
Yeah.
But then it just becomes more natural or whatever. But yeah, it was just different. But it was not like us and our kids.
Right.
I wonder why that is. Maybe it's like that Tony Robbins thing that we heard that one time. It's like if it wasn't that way, then things wouldn't be this way now.
Right.
See,
and I noticed the difference with like our kids. You guys hear us talk about the love languages, right? The 5 love languages. And I did those tests with our kids. And Audrey's her primary love language is quality time.
Yeah.
Right? And Joey's is physical touch. And so when Joey's friend was here, I did his friend's love language. And it was quality time. Physical touch was 0.
Oh,
it was 0.
Yeah.
So I started talking to them, both, because Joey had expressed like that. And they're always fighting though, like wrestling and playing and doing this. And I started talking to the boys about their love language. And I'm like, well, Joey, I'm like, this is something when you start liking girls. And he's like, ew, both of them, ew. But it's like helping them to become aware so that when they do end up in a relationship.
Dude, these kids are going to be smooth when they start getting into chicks. They're going to be like, dude, we need to find out their love language.
I know, right?
I think she likes gifts. They all like gifts. You got to be very careful. No, I'm just kidding. Shiny metal gifts. No, I'm just kidding.
But Joey is very affectionate. And so that is something I'm like, hey, dude, when you start dating or talking to girls, and he don't want to hear any of it.
No.
You know, I'm like, you might want her to take the test first. No.
Yeah. That's funny.
But anyways.
So yeah.
It's good stuff.
But happy Father's Day to everybody.
Yes. Happy Father's Day, Dad. And you know what? It's not just the dads, like the biological dads. It's also the stepdads. Yeah. People, when we, my stepdad came into my life. Yeah,
there's a few that you can.
When I was in, I think, freshman year. And, he was that father figure for me. Like, he took us camping. He introduced us to, like a lot of things. And I appreciate him, stepping up and doing what he did. And, I learned a lot from him, and he's always been there. Like, he's just, he's always been there. And I know that you have.
Yeah, my stepdad, Jeff. And he's awesome. He's my dad, my stepdad, my mom's husband. And he's just kind of like stepped in, and it's just incredible. Like the way he is with the kids, he's just there for us, and the conversations that we have, it's just.
Well, let's talk about incredible. That. I mean, he calls you more often now. Yeah. It's like I've seen your guys' relationship blossom, throughout the years, and it's so cute, to. I know that you'll tell him he loves you, and he's not. Well, he doesn't have Miguel's. Stepdad doesn't have any kids, so Miguel's like the only. Yeah. You're like the only kid, dude.
It's funny because it's kind of like what I was talking about just a little while ago, because I kind of noticed, and I'm like, he's my stepdad, and like, there's a lot of things like stepdad, stepbrother, it's like he's your dad. He's my dad. Yeah. My brothers are my brothers. It's not a stepbrother. It's not a half brother. Like, they're my brothers. Right. My brothers, my sister, and that's how I see my stepdad too. And it's just funny because I noticed, like, I love him, and when you love somebody, you should tell them. Right. So I noticed one time it was kind of like, all right, and the dad thing too, like calling him dad. Yeah. And it's like, all right, and I'd be like, we would have a conversation on the phone. It's like, all right, well, I guess I'll talk to you next time. He's like, okay, all right, I love you. Okay, bye. Like, it's like almost so cute. It's almost like you get scared. It's like, oh shit. Click. Oh, that would just fucking be cracking up.
But you know what?
Because I just know I just know this, like, oh fuck, I didn't see that coming.
Right. But too, when you think about it.
But then it changed, yeah.
Yeah. I remember way back, like us having a conversation or whatever, and it's like, would you rather hear I love you, or would you rather feel loved? Okay. And where I'm coming from is like with Jeff, you feel loved. Yeah. Like just the little things he does. He'll call you and talk to you about something. If there's something that you need to fix or something that you're looking into, you will call Jeff.
And he enjoys that stuff too. Like I think he enjoys helping with that kind of thing. Or like when you're, I mean, it's one of those things. It makes you feel like your stuff. You feel appreciated or important, or
I think, you know what I mean? With him, it's more so.
and he's
son,
and he's helping us out. You know,
you're his son,
Yeah.
and you're calling him,
and he gets
dad
to teach me
for
something.
help.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And
and
when
shit,
you guys,
I could learn some things.
right?
Holy crap!
And he's taught you a lot, and
Yeah.
he showed you a lot, and he's been that father figure. I mean, I think you talk to him more than
and
your
the kids
dad.
too.
Yes,
The kids too.
yes, and the kids love him, and I'm excited for the day that when he can take, because he's such a smart man, and I would love for him to pour his knowledge into our kids, especially Joey is into things that Jeff can teach him.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I think he could teach him a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So it doesn't matter whether, you're a biological father or you've been that father to step up and take care of,
Yeah, there's a huge shout out to all the stepdads out there.
Yes.
I know I mean, not just mine, but I can think of a lot of stepdads that, that stepped up when the kids needed them. I mean, like I mentioned, my half brother, half sister, their lives are completely different because of their stepdad. Mm-hmm. And, huge shout out to Mike and, to all the stepdads out there. Any other, I mean, there's just so many.
There's one that just came up for me, and this is kind of like a situation. I have a bonus daughter from Miguel, and Miguel and his ex, there's so many complications there. And, Miguel wasn't allowed, I think that's the right word, to be in his daughter's life. We had to fight. But during that fight, there was Josh who stepped up and was there in Michaela's life to guide her and to love her. And I appreciate him being the man, to be there and step up and, give her words of wisdom and never speak ill about you because he knew the situation.
Dude, that is one thing, and I think I've even told him at one point. It's not something that, it's not like we talk or we're friends or anything like that, but I think I've told him at one point that I appreciated him and the love that he gave to Michaela.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, it's one of those things that I don't understand how somebody could get upset for somebody loving your kid.
Right.
Like if they're hurting them or doing something wrong, I can get that. But if your kid loves them and they're loving your kid, how could you get upset at that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
No.
So I'm like, look, I wanted to do that, and for whatever reason, I wasn't able to.
Not for whatever reason.
Well, because of all the struggles and everything that we went through.
Because you weren't allowed to.
I mean, like you said,
you were kept out of her life.
Yeah. But he was able to do that, and he was there, and he didn't have to. It wasn't his responsibility, and I appreciated that.
Right. So, anyways, I wasn't even planning on this podcast going that, but I think that it was good and it needed to be said and needed to be heard because there are, just dads out there, including yourself, that should be recognized and appreciated, and those stepdaddies who stepped up and took care of business.
Yep. And with that, make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com, share it with the people that you know. When you guys go there, you guys can watch the podcast there. You can listen to it there. You can follow all of our social media. It's at the top of the website. You just click on it and it'll take you to whatever you want to look at: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of it. And when you go to our website, you can find ways to support the show if you click on the support the show link, or if you're on your phone and you hit the menu button and you'll see the support the show link. When you go to that, you'll see our Amazon link. Anything that you purchase, when you click on that link, when you're doing your regular shopping through Amazon and you put everything in your cart, if you go to our website and you click on that link and you purchase it going through that link, it'll help out the show. We'll get a little kickback every time you buy something, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Like we said, well, it's kind of late for Father's Day now, but everybody's always shopping on Amazon. So
yeah.
And while you're on there, if you guys search Opposites Attract Podcast t-shirt, pop sockets, phone cases, you guys can find that all on Amazon. And you'll also see a link to Trust Inc. And Trust Inc. is?
We are a nationwide mobile notary agency. So if you are in the process of selling, refinancing, or purchasing, you can request Trust Inc. to be your signing agency.
And you can go to Trust Inc. directly by going to trustinkusa.com. We're also affiliates with Pinwheel, which is a smartphone for kids. It has GPS tracking. You can see all of the call logs, text messages. You have to approve all the contacts and the apps that go onto the phone. They have apps for little kids, like 5 years old, all the way up to teenagers. So you can change the apps out as you see fit so that the phone can grow with the kid. And it's just a great way to be able to know what your kids are up to. It doesn't have all of the addictive apps with the social media and the games and all that other stuff. And it helps kids become more productive. If you want to know more, you can go to pinwheel.com and use promo code OAPTEN all together, all in caps, and that'll give you 10% off of a Pinwheel phone.
Yes. And if you guys have any suggestions for maybe topics that you would like for us to talk about, or maybe you would like to leave us a comment on how the 30-day love challenge has helped your relationship, you can actually call us at...
Oh, crap.
At all crap.
You caught me off guard. You can find us.
You can call us at 480...
Where is it? 331-9846.
Again.
480-331-9846.
There you go.
There you go. I didn't have the printout.
Oh, well, you suck. Buy us a coffee.
Nice. So buy us a coffee. Yeah, if you guys would like to buy us a coffee, it's like buying us a virtual coffee. What is a way that you guys can support the show? You can go to buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod and you guys can buy us a virtual coffee there. And it's kind of like we've said before, if we run into you at a bar or a coffee shop and you guys let us know that you listen to the podcast, we'd love to get to know you, buy you a coffee. Or if you guys would like to do that for us, you can do it there at buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod.
Yes, yes. So, again, I mentioned earlier that our last podcast, we gave you guys 5 steps on how to communicate effectively. Okay. Again, you can use that in your relationship, your children, just all the way around. And you and I, before the podcast, we were talking about our finances back in the day. And, when Miguel and I met, there was just, we had a few challenges, a lot of challenges actually that we've been able to overcome. And when Miguel and I met, it was at a business event. So at that time, at the business that we were in was a multi-level marketing company, personal development company on steroids. So their focus was always personal development. How to become better, how to do better, how to think differently, all of that. So we were introduced immediately to books, what books to read in order for us to grow. Yeah. And on that path, we just continued to stay on that path. If we've ever had any struggles, we always looked for a book, right, for answers. And
so I think, for a lot of people that listen to this show, like you said, we met in a business event, right? And I think that had a huge impact on our marriage, our relationship, because like right off the bat, we're meeting at a business event, you know? So we both already have somewhat of an entrepreneur mindset, or else we wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Where
and anyone that starts a business or is doing a business like that is looking to create a better financial future.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think where we've still had some of our financial struggles, but I think we've been able to work through a lot of it because we met at a business event.
Right.
And we've kind of had a similar mindset. Like we've made mistakes, but we both kind of like, oh yeah, that was a mistake.
Not doing that again.
Because we both know like where we're trying to get to.
Right. So I think with us, we had an upper hand coming together when it comes to our finances. And the reason why we are getting into this topic
now, we didn't start with anything. We had to build everything.
Excuse me?
Well, when it came to money. And we had a little bit, you had the house when you started.
Yeah, I had good credit. I wasn't, you didn't meet me broke.
Okay.
You did?
Babe, you don't, how much did you have in the bank?
I don't remember.
Probably not like, it wasn't life-changing money.
No, but I wasn't in
Right.
debt.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean, I was doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing bad.
No. But it wasn't also like you were,
Yeah. Like I didn't have
you weren't stacking up your assets and all that kind of
$10,000
stuff.
and,
No.
well, I did have investments.
Okay, good.
You don't remember? I was well. I was doing well. I was doing well. I didn't have like 10,000 in the bank, but I had that in investments.
Okay.
So when you and I came together, our financial challenges came because we had more expenses that came because of a situation, right?
Yeah.
Like, we ended up getting more kids that we weren't planning on taking care of.
Yeah.
Right? We had attorney's fees that sucked any extra money that were coming our way.
Yeah. With that.
So we had a lot of challenges that came our way that caused us to get into a financial crunch.
Yeah.
And when that happened, you and I came together and we had to figure out what to do in order for us not to go under.
Yeah.
Right? When it comes to other couples that I've personally helped or talked to, because I've been coaching even before, just mentoring and helping other couples, there's a lot of stress that comes with finances. Yeah. And I think you had looked up just a moment ago, like what is the percentage of divorces due to finances?
Yeah.
Right. And it was
I don't know
up there.
Yeah, it was pretty high. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know one of there's a few reasons why finances cause problems in marriage, like serious problems. And one of them is that they just don't talk about the stresses that they're feeling when it comes to finances. Like, because a lot of times one person or the other, it kind of takes charge of paying the bills or monitoring the accounts or doing things or whatever. I guess it kind of works different in different situations. Like if you guys pay bills separate and you're struggling to pay the bills and you're not really talking about it, then it's your partner has no idea what you're dealing with.
Right. And that's not something you and I really had to go through because it's weird. Because you and I, as soon as we came together, everything became one. Isn't that great? Like that's the way we did it, My money was your money was my money. And
I think that's just something that just doing that has like eliminated all kinds of issues that it's just not even a thing that we have to deal with or even think about or anything.
Do you recall, because I remember at one point I was paying the bills, like I was taking care of all of that.
Yeah.
And I started to get stressed about it. Like I started to stress out about it. It was just not something I enjoyed doing. And you and I had a conversation about it, I remember. And you said, don't worry about it. I'll take over, whatever.
Maybe. That might not have been the exact way that we went about it, because back then we didn't communicate that well.
Right.
But yeah, there was a time when that happened, and that's kind of like what we're talking about. It's like just couples not communicating about the stresses that they feel. And like you were talking about last week, we talked all about communication. We did talk about the stresses, and I know I did when, if you guys have ever had, what did they say, like too much month at the end of your money, right? You run out of money before you're getting paid again, and you start stressing out. And back then I probably would have said something to you or got upset or whatever, where now it's just, we know how to communicate better about that sort of thing. Like, hey, we need to watch what we're doing or whatever. Yeah. It's just a different way to bring it up.
Yes. So, talking about your financial stresses, like if you are the one paying the bills and you're feeling all of the stress and you feel like you're in it alone because you're not communicating, there's no set goals, there's no set plan on how much money like your expenses.
Yeah, not just that, it's just communication is really all it is because if the stress is also coming from what the other person may be doing, you need to express that. You need to talk to them about that. You need to figure out how you guys can resolve these things because that could also be stressful.
Right.
You know?
And in order to be able to have those conversations, you guys have to go back to episode 185 and write down those 5 steps. Because if you don't know how to communicate with your partner, and if you guys are having a financial dispute or challenge, whatever it is, that is going to get into a heated conversation.
Yeah.
So you have to know how to communicate with one another from love, respect, in order, to start talking about your finances. Like there has to be a barrier there.
Yeah.
Secretly spending.
Yeah.
I think with you and I, we've never really had that because our accounts are joined. And not only that, but if there's something that we want to do, normally we talk about
everything. We talk about a lot.
Now, if I'm going to go buy me a Starbucks or go buy me a pair of shoes, I mean, normally I don't. I mean, if I feel that I've earned a pair of shoes or because I'm not like these days, I'm not one of those girls to just go out and spend money. But I know that there are some females out there that, are not voicing what they're spending money on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, that's a little bit different. And I think it also depends on where you're at, because if you have a certain amount of money that you're depending on for certain things to
pay bills, right,
and they're just spending it, then that's different. But it's like in our case, if you go and you decide, like you see a pair of shoes that you like and you decide that you want to buy them, like that's not a big, you don't have to run that by me, like to see if you can spend that. But now there are some couples, like they'll go and buy a new freaking entertainment center TV or like go furniture shopping and show up with like $3,000 worth of shit. And it's like, that's a different story.
You know what I've noticed, and I know this because I talk to a lot of girls, when it comes to getting Botox, getting fillers, getting a facials, like that stuff is heck of
and maintaining that stuff. Like if you got to maintain that shit, you probably got to keep a secret stash to be able to fucking go back and right?
Yeah. Or I'm going to go buy some shoes, or I'm going to go buy some clothes, and having a credit card that your significant other is unaware of, or having a secret bank account that your significant other. I remember, this is something I remember at the very beginning. I remember having, like, I had my accounts, and I remember talking to you about, like, because just in case something ever happened between us,
you could kick me off, I would be okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I remember like us having that dispute. Do you remember that? And it was just because of all the insecurities that I had. Like, motherfucker, if you cheat or you do something, like, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
Yep. I'll have my money saying? And
Yep. And that is something that we had to work through. I remember that.
But yeah, like that. I mean, I think this is talking about, like you said, the secret credit card, or if you have a secret bank account or something like that. But for us, like since the very beginning, we joined the bank accounts, like all of the money goes in there. Like we go to the bank together, talk to the people. So it's not like at any point in time, like I'm in the account looking at stuff, or you're in the account looking at stuff. You know what I mean? So,
but I understand how it could get there, because if there's something that I wanted, something that I really wanted, and I feel like, well, say I didn't bring in any money.
Yeah.
Right? And you were the one working.
Which has happened in the past.
Yeah. And I wanted something. I wanted to do something. And if I felt that you would not agree with that, and you weren't the man you are, like if you were the man, like I make all the damn money, so no, you can't have that.
So the personality.
Like I can understand why a woman would do that, have a secret credit card or account, yeah, because the man feels like he's a control freak and feels that he has to be in it all, and whatever he says goes. Like I can see that.
What would you? I guess it's different. I was gonna say, like, what would you be surprised by, like, finding? Like, if I had money, or not finding, because I guess it's not like you would find. I mean, finding it would be like if I had it in a sock in the back of my drawer, and then you find, whatever. But not really. Like if I have $100 cash in my wallet.
Oh, that's so funny.
You know what I mean?
We do that. We go through that sometimes. I'll be like,
and
hey,
I'm like, where the fuck do you get money?
Have cash? Yeah, because we never carry cash, right? Like we never have cash, hardly ever. And then so I'll be like, hey, do you have any cash? And you're like, it depends. How much do you need? And you just pull out like $80 in your wallet. I'm like, dude, where'd that come from? But it's just like it's just like you and I playing around. It's not like I'm like, where'd you get that?
It depends on like where you're at or what you do. Because I mean, I guess if you do certain things or you have a certain business, you might have more cash, so you might have more money on you or whatever. So, but I think like we've said, the account and just avoiding all of that is just, it eliminates the whole issue.
This is the thing. If you are married, you're in this together. You really are. And if there's any secrets that are being held, the way I see things, when it comes to lying, secrets, it all comes out. Yeah. At the end, it all comes out one way or the other. And if you care about the relationship you're in, it's time to have that tough conversation with your significant other, and weigh out whether having that secret account or that credit card is worth losing your marriage.
Yeah.
And I think, or I know that honesty is your best bet when it comes to any of it.
But like you said, I could see how somebody could want to do that. Like if they, it like depending on the personalities, right? Like sometimes we've met people or couples where one of the people is just a fucking straight up tightwad. They don't want to spend a fucking nickel for anything.
Right.
Yeah. I could see how maybe the wife or the husband wants to have a fucking account so that they could go buy something sometimes.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that comes down to the communication.
Right.
And being able to talk to your spouse and compromising sometimes in a marriage.
Right. And then on the other hand, you can have someone who is a big time spender, right?
Yeah.
Like a big time spender and wants to spend everything they have and even what they don't have. Yeah. And it's like, how do you come to a common ground when that is the situation?
Yep.
And it's all comes from communicating, like learning how to, what is the end goal in mind? Like, breaking down your finances and maybe coming to an agreement on an amount, that you guys spend together or,
I think one thing that's really helped us out is all the conversations that we've had, but we really do sit down and we, like when it comes time to buckle down, like we've had different times in our relationship, in our financial lives or whatever, where we're, you get the credit cards or the first time we were in debt and it was like, all right, we had to have that conversation of we need to change things. Mm-hmm. We need to get out of debt. And then we did that, but we both sat down and we talked about what we were going to do. We talked about what it was going to take and we got on it. It wasn't just like, I had a random goal, you had a random, like we go through all of these things together. When it comes to pulling money out of something or making a move that we need to make, we both sit down. It's like, all right, so what are we trying to get to here? What is the purpose of this thing? And then when we make mistakes, we'll kind of sit down. It's like, yeah, that probably wasn't a good idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we go through everything together. We
So
go over it all.
It really comes down to communication. When you get used to talking about the things that are uncomfortable, and what I've noticed, one is finances and the other one is sex, intimacy, which we're going to get into that on another episode. We're going to dive deep into that. So anyways, because that's another one.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to lack of communication, finances, and lack of sex. I mean,
and communication, you need it for all of them.
Yeah. So that's why we started off with communication. It's talking, having those hard conversations that are not always easy to have. Like, hey, babe, just letting you know, I ended up opening up this account and I feel, and I hope you feel, it's just opening up the doors to communication and having those hard conversations. If you and I didn't learn how to not communicate, we would not know how to communicate. Do you understand? We had to go through not knowing, recognizing
had to learn the hard way.
Suck. Like, this is not working. We've been doing it for this long, and something's got to give, or else we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
And us recognizing that our relationship is more important than being right. It's more important than, we need to learn how to do things the right way.
Yeah.
So the first step was recognizing that we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Yeah. Another thing that's helped us out is that we're very open to listening to people.
Oh, yes.
We don't always act on everything, but we'll listen. We listen to a lot of different people, things
and it
that
depends,
they have.
Hold on. It depends who's giving you the advice as well.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Making sure that the person you're taking the advice from has the life, marriage, parenting, whatever that you are wanting to have.
Yeah.
At the beginning of our relationship, I know that like you weren't working at the time, right? And there's been a lot of times where your job now, you make very good money. Have you ever had to check your ego because maybe I made more money than you, or at the beginning of our relationship, did you feel a certain way at all? Because you never expressed it to me.
So
that's another problem.
So
By the way,
what?
I'm asking him this is because sometimes
this is a good thing.
A man has a problem when the woman makes more money or is ahead of
So when we first met, like you said, I wasn't working. I was trying to build a network marketing business, and anybody that's done that or tried to build a business from nothing, it's not easy, and it doesn't always go as planned. It doesn't go as fast as you wish it would go. And I was struggling in the beginning, wasn't working. And you were making more money than I was. And I think back then it wasn't so much, maybe the money a little bit, but I just felt like I could be doing more. Like I don't know, like maybe my effort was better spent getting a job or working, because that wasn't going to be it. Like that wasn't going to make it happen fast enough for me or whatever. But I just remember having like the feeling like I need to get to fucking work at that time. But over our relationship, there's also been times where the business takes off and you end up making more money than me.
Mm-hmm.
And during those times, I never have really felt weird about it.
Mm-hmm.
Only because I know I'm working and I'm contributing. Like I'm putting in my effort, and it's not like I'm not doing anything. And even if I made less money, but I'm still putting in effort. And the way I've always seen it, because there's also been times when you didn't make as much money as I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never looked at that as like less than. The way I've always seen it is whatever you're making and whatever I'm making, put it together. Where are we going? That's it. That's the only thing that mattered to me, is where are we going?
Right.
And whether you're making more money than me or I'm making more money than you,
we're in this
we're
together.
trying to get to the same destination. Like I'm trying to make more money, and you might not be making as much money as me now, but you're probably trying to make more money too. Like we're both in this thing together.
So what I'm hearing is that there's a plan in place. There's goals, right? Yeah. Like, and that may be it. Like why so many couples end up in a divorce due to finances is because there are no goals in place. There is no, let's sit down, let's write down, our finances. Let's write down, our expenses and figure this out and put money aside. Because I remember there was a time where you and I were dead set on being debt free, and we became debt free in 2013. But before that time, we kept making that plan, but we kept falling. We kept getting back on that rat race of,
in the cycle.
Yeah, in the cycle. And in 2013, we finally got fed up and said enough is enough. And we became debt free. And ever since then, we have had a control on our finances. But what happened was we got so sick and tired of being sick and tired that we made that decision together. And so we had a goal in place. We knew what direction we were going. And so I guess what, the best advice I can give maybe those of you that are listening that are still on that path of trying to find your way is to sit down with your partner and have an open, honest conversation of where you see yourself, where you want to go.
Where you guys are trying to get to.
Yes. And not only that, I get it. Like women, it's like, you and men should be allowed, to do the thing that you want to do without someone holding it over your head. You and I, we have goals, similar goals. We have goals as a couple, but we also have goals as individuals as well. Don't ever lose who you are because you're so caught up in the relationship, because that's something else that can cause a division. But when you guys sit down and you're talking about your financial goals as a couple, I think that there would help to get, on the right, on the path.
Yeah.
To successful,
Yeah. It's like financial marriage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But I'm like, is that even a thing? I'm just making shit up right now. No. Hey, let's say it 5 times.
And then it's ours. then it's real. Ours. Yeah. No, I think, I think that's obviously like an ego thing, is having a problem with your spouse making more money. Mm-hmm. Like I've said it on here before, like I've always looked at it as we're trying to reach a common goal, like you were saying.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who's making more, who's doing what. Now, one thing that we did talk about, we were talking about it before the show, there are some times where a spouse is kind of, they just don't take care of business.
Oh, that's a different. Do we have time to get into that? We got a little bit.
But that's a different situation. Like if you're like, if you got laid off, like let's say you were working a job, right? Mm-hmm. And you get laid off, but, and I can get it. Like you get laid off and then maybe you decide, you know what? I've been working for years. I want to take maybe a week or two and I'm going to start looking for work or whatever. And we have some money saved up so you can do that. But then those 2 weeks turns into 3 weeks and a month. And then we're not doing anything. And it's not like we're at a point where we're retired.
Right.
We still have stuff going on.
Right.
Or just not interested, or they lose their job, or they can't keep a job.
And maybe there's a pattern, right? And maybe there's a pattern of they can't keep a job
because now you can see that we're not focused on the same goal.
Right.
That's what the problem is. It's not the problem of how much money you make. It's the problem that now we're not focused on the same goal. Look, if you got laid off and you're like, well, what can I do? I don't have any work because I got laid off, but maybe I can do this to make some money until I can figure something else out. Or maybe, it's just like not just fucking nothing.
Right.
you can't do that. Like we still have a goal to reach. And whether you make more or not, it doesn't matter. But it's the effort and what we're trying to get to that counts.
Yeah, because that could cause a break in the relationship as well. Is if one feels that they are drowning. And what I mean by that is that they are working nonstop just to pay the bills. And they come home and their partner is asleep on the couch.
I just got like this picture of like a house of cards.
There you go.
Like that's just what your house is. Like you're just fucking busting your ass to come home to a house of cards where like you're the only one that's, it's almost like you're the only one that cares. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And at any moment, the whole thing can come down because you guys aren't in it together.
Right. And if that is the situation and you are that spouse that is working nonstop to try to keep your house afloat and the other spouse seems disconnected or not motivated, whatever it may be, it's getting down to the core issue, you know, with the spouse who is not motivated. Like, what is going on? If this has been a pattern for many years, there's a reason for it.
Yeah, there may be a reason
why. There may be a reason for it. You know, maybe, you know, the spouse who's not motivated grew up in a home where mom and dad were working non-stop.
Yeah, and they're like,
and
that's
they don't
want to
be that parent. They want to be that present parent, or maybe, you know, whatever it may be, there's a reason for it. And it's getting down to the core of what's causing them to not be motivated, what's causing them to, you know, not get on board with
the plan.
What's happening. And if the other spouse who's working nonstop is resentful of the other spouse, that can also cause a problem. So again, it's the lack of communication. Right? The lack of communication, asking questions and being more concerned about why is it that the other spouse is not motivated. Maybe they're depressed. Maybe whatever it may be, it's opening up that communication to find out what is the problem and then finding a solution. But instead of becoming a resentful spouse, being a concerned spouse.
Yeah.
You know, but also not to enable. Yeah. Right? Like you don't want to enable them, but you want to, again, that communication, that door of communication. That's why I feel that communication is so important, because if you have the communication down,
well, because they may be
sex.
Yeah.
The sex, if you guys know how to communicate, and we're going to talk about this, the sex is going to be pretty good, right? If the communication is down, your finances are going to be pretty good because you're able to talk about the challenges, the struggles, the obstacles, right?
And how to get better, yeah.
Right. You know, so communication, I feel, is the door that needs to be opened. It has to be resolved. You guys have to get this down, because then it's like everything else
will fall into place.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know what? Before we get out of here, one thing I wanted to this was just kind of off the fly, but I wanted to talk about a few things that have made some of the biggest differences in our financial relationship or in our financial lives. And you could probably think of a couple, and maybe I'll give out the first kind of two that pop into my head and we can just kind of go back and forth. But I think, well, one of the things is obviously like we met in the business. So our mindsets were pretty similar. But I think the first thing was kind of getting on that, the first time that we really thought about, we need to get out of debt. We need to get out of this debt. And that first step is coming up with a plan and then just really making that commitment.
Right.
That, and part of that plan was using large chunks of money that we would get. Large chunks of money could have been, well, usually for the most part was tax returns.
Yes. Dude, do you guys know how much that sucked? Like, we would see our family and our friends like buying new vehicles and new TVs, and you and I were like,
every time.
Nope.
Every time. It was just
whether
like,
it's towards the house or the cars or paying off debt.
Yep. And we would take those tax returns and bam, just put that right towards the credit card, put it towards the car, put it towards something. And then once the credit, even still, once the credit cards and the cars were paid off, we would get those large chunks of money, because it wasn't just the tax return. It was work bonuses. It was business bonuses. It was all kinds of, we would just take it and throw it at the at the debt until we finally got out. So it was making that commitment to get out of debt and using the large chunks of money to knock out the debt.
And you guys, it wasn't just that as well, because when you started working for the companies, we took advantage, you guys, of the investments. So where Miguel works, they match our investments 50%, I think. Is it 50% or what is it?
No, they match
8%.
8%.
8%. And we always made sure that we maxed that out.
Yeah, and
right.
More.
So, it's just constantly just wanting to get out so that we can be free, because the financial stresses that come in a relationship is no joke.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because that was the minimum. Because when I first started at this company, they told us like, well, they match up to 8%. So everybody's like, well, if they're going to match 8%, then you, at the minimum, you need to put in 8%.
Right.
Right. But even still, that was like the very beginning.
Right.
Now we're up to like, I don't know if it's 20, 22%, 24%, something like that. It's over 20.
Right.
But that comes from discipline over years.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I don't even know really what it's like to live off of my salary.
Oh, I know.
Do you know what I mean?
It'd be nice.
Know what I mean?
I know.
Because we take over the years, it's always been like, and you'd be surprised at how you can just adapt or not even miss it.
Right. Well, so I remember you telling me that someone advised you, or you read a book, something said that whenever you get a raise, don't even look at that raise. Put whatever money, whatever percentage that is, into your investments.
Yeah. So one thing that they told me was, whatever you get, like let's say you get a new job, whatever you get in that raise, just put it towards your investments. Another thing that they told me is that every year we usually get like a raise.
Right.
So every year add another percentage to your investment. So like if you've been with the company 10 years, that 8% should now be 18%.
Right.
You know what I mean? Plus, if you got more money, then you should probably be putting even more into that.
Right.
So, but, and who knows if that's the right thing? This is something that I've always told you, that I don't know if it's the right thing, but I'm pretty sure it's not the wrong thing. Like, I don't think it's going to hurt. I think it can help. I don't think it's going to hurt. So if you're not sure, if it seems like a good idea, just fucking go for it. And you're going to end up better for it. Right. And yeah, like it just, when you do it right off the bat, at first you're like, man, like I got a raise, I got a new job, I got this and that, and I don't even get to like taste what that money's like. Right. But before you know it, you're like, you're good with it. And you're used to it.
Yes. And the easiest way to do that is put your life on auto, or not your investments on auto, meaning because you won't miss it. So even if you want to take a portion out of your check and put it into your savings, set it up automatically.
Where it automatically comes out of your check.
And two, it all depends, you guys. Like when you sit down and you make a plan for your finances, think about your future. What do you want that to look like? And what is good for you and your family? Like what is a fit for you and your family? And it will change. Trust me. And, at the beginning, we were thinking of like paying off the houses, right? So then we asked questions, read books, listened to audios, and we came across this audio who said, set your mortgage up on biweekly because it will cut off 4 years of your house. If so at that time we were thinking of paying off the houses. So that's what we had set up. And if that's where you feel that you fit in, then ask your lender about that option, because I'm pretty sure that they have it.
Yeah, if you want to pay off your houses. Yeah,
right.
If that's what you want to do. That's something that's kind of changed over the years for us.
For us,
just
yes.
the way we see money and things and debt even. Because like I said, the first goal that we had was to get out of debt. And I think if you have debt, your goal should be to get out of debt.
Yes.
But eventually when you get to a certain point, you're going to start seeing debt differently.
Right. You know, like using other people's money in order to get ahead. It's crazy.
Babe, this is something that I never really thought about until now. But just, it's so nuts. Like the feeling that we used to have about debt before, you know, like you would get that sick feeling like, ugh, like you owe somebody money. Like they almost have control over you because you have a contract. Like you got to give me this. Right. But then when you start to look at debt the other way, as using somebody else's money to be able to make money for yourself, it's almost like it gives you like a different, it's the complete opposite. It's like a hope kind of thing. It's like, it's almost like a limitless possibility if you're willing to take that risk.
And you know what it is?
It's freaking nuts.
It's because we now have that self-discipline.
Yeah.
Right? Like we have that self-discipline where we know that being debt-free, like we've been debt-free for quite some time. And now that we reached that level, now we're on a different level. We're listening to people that are millionaires that are giving us advice on how to become wealthy.
Yeah, that's a different
What
thing.
is your mindset? So you have to take these baby steps, right? So you may be on the step where you are in debt and you're sick and tired of being in debt. I say, listen to Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey will put you on, give you a foundation on how to get yourselves out of debt. And, you know, that emergency account gets you starting to think of the future,
building a
right
stash.
Now it's not just getting yourself out of debt. Now it's like building that stash for the future. And once you get to that area where you're thinking about the future, you start thinking a little bit bigger, right? Like it's like you have to, they say, you know, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example. So like, let's say you start thinking about, well, I want to make a real estate investment, and little by little, like you started out with nothing. And over time, like you'll go from having $500 in your little, you know, emergency fund or your account to you build it up to 1,000 and then a couple thousand, and then it gets bigger. And then you start thinking like, well, maybe I can buy something. Like first it's maybe I can buy some things and sell them. Maybe I can buy real estate. Maybe I can buy a business or something like that. But once your ideas and your accounts start getting bigger, then you start thinking about, when you start thinking about like real estate and buying businesses and things like that, that's when you start thinking about, well, I don't have enough to just buy a house outright. And you still have that debt-free mentality, right? But then you start running into people and people start talking to you about borrowing money and still making money.
When we first heard that, you guys, we were like, ugh. That doesn't really feel good. But then when we started learning more about it, we're like,
but then you start thinking about it, it's like you're borrowing money, you're making money, and I still have all my money.
Yes.
And then you're like, holy shit.
Right.
Because before it was like, I'm borrowing, like I'm going to give you all of this money so that I can make some money with it.
Right.
But it's like, no, I'm going to keep all of that. I'm going to borrow that money and I'm going to make money with it.
Right.
It's free. It's just a completely different way to look at things.
Right. And that's the next level. And that's where we are today. But it took time for us to wrap our minds around that. So again, if you are listening to this, first get your communication down. Write out your financial goals.
One last thing before we get out of here. Another thing that made a huge difference. So like the first thing that we talked about was getting on the same page about getting out of debt.
Right.
That was important. Using the big chunks of money to knock the debt out from tax returns, bonuses, anything extra that we made. Side businesses. If you have 2 jobs, start up a side business or something. Look at ways that you can make money. There's ways to do it.
3, automate your life.
Yes, automate your life.
Your finances.
And one thing that really helped us out was not caring what anybody else was doing.
Yes.
What anybody else thought. Because to this day, like we don't have the nicest cars or we don't have the nicest everythings, but we know where we're going. Like it's like I don't need any of that stuff. That stuff doesn't matter.
Because that stuff doesn't make us happy.
No.
Right? Like we have a bigger picture of where we're going.
It's crazy because I don't know. It's just a different. It's a different mentality. It's a different way to look at things. Like I just look at a car. If I want to, cars, I don't know. We haven't talked about it in a while, but cars are the biggest money suck for so many people, you know, and I can't see myself spending 60 grand on a car or 50
unless that car is going to make us money.
Yeah.
Unless that car is going to make us money.
Like you said, geez, I'm going through puberty over here. But yeah, like I just can't spend the money on something that's going to suck the money out of us. Like I would take that, borrow that money and use it for something else.
Right.
You know, so that is something that has really helped us out. Not caring what people think, because at the end of the day, I feel way better about looking at our account than looking in my driveway and seeing what I'm driving.
That's something that's just sitting there.
Because I can't eat that car that's out there. That doesn't buy me groceries. That's just taking money out of my bank account.
Right.
You know, looking in the bank account and knowing that we have some kind of security, that makes me feel better. You know? And the truth is, most people in the country can't say that. Yeah. That's crazy.
But we had to get there. You know, we had to get there.
And you guys can too.
And it's not just the money in the account, but it's also, you know, like we have the real estate, we have the investments, we have, you know what I'm saying? It's knowing that everything that we've worked so hard, that we sacrificed for, you know, not keeping up with the Joneses isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Yeah. Right.
But eventually,
once we get there
and you do it the right way,
it is what it is. Yeah. Right. Yeah. When you have it, you know, and you can do it, then do it.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
And with that, make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com, share it with the people that you know, share it with your friends. Like I said before, you guys can watch the podcast there. You can follow all of our social media there, and you guys can support our show there.
Yes. So thank you all for your love, your support, and thank you for watching Opposites Attract podcast,
where we get better
together. Bye.